everyone in social media land is still fired up about the president's use of the N-word yesterday, and some are even using it themselves, like Don Lemon on CNN. Here to discuss is John Hawkins of rightwingnews.com. John, welcome back to America Trends. Good to have you.
Gina, I am so happy to be on your show again. Thank you for having me on.
I'm always a little paranoid when you're on the show, John, because I always know that means there are going to be lots of screenshots where I look like, a ghost haunting you pretty much. If you ever saw From a Sarah in Fiddler on the Roof, that's what it always reminds me of.
You say that, but there cannot be a bad picture of Dr. Gina. I have to take about 100 to get one that looks semi-presentable to me, and then everything of you looks. So I just picked one of the ones, it just means it's an 8 instead of a 9.5. You know.
All right, listen, John, first, let's watch this clip of what Don Lemon said on CNN last night, and then I want to get your reaction. Roll tape.
This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon. This is what America is talking about right now. Does this offend you? It's a Confederate flag. Is it a symbol of Southern pride or a symbol of hate? And then, what about this? Does this offend you? This word. President Obama said it out loud in an interview, and a lot of people are shocked.
Racism, we are not cured of. Clearly. And it's not just a matter of it not being polite to say nigger in public. That's not the measure of whether racism still exists or not.
Tonight, the two stories on everyone's radar, a word and a flag. A flag that is flying tonight on the grounds of the South Carolina State House.
All right, John, after all that, the Confederate flag ban is still trending today, and people are so fired up. What do you say about all of this?
Well, the Confederate flag ban, I wrote about this actually a few weeks ago, a little side note. It's not an issue I've ever cared about, despite the fact I live in the South. Some people think it's nice, honorable. They link it to the romantic ancestors fighting this battle, and they don't look at it as a. And there are some hate mongers out there that look at this like Dylan Root, whatever his name is, who look at this as some sort of paean to slavery and hatred. And there's black Americans who are legitimately offended by it. But here's the thing: this guy goes out and shoots some people. How does this impact it? Does it have any impact at all? No, and it's not going to solve anything. They're going to do this. The next thing, you'll have the same bunch of losers who are whining over this and crying over this, because that's what they do for a living. They cry and whine and complain. Well, we've got to get rid of these monuments. We've got to change these streets. By the time they get done, they'll probably be changing the name of South Carolina to New York to make them happy. I mean, that's just what it'll take.
John, okay, let's say that the hand of God moved and CNN really wanted some actual ratings, and they hired John Hawkins of Right Wing News to host that show.
Smartest move they ever made.
Smartest move they ever made. And John Hawkins, let's say you held up that sign and that flag. Do you think the reaction would be different?
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure you're going to get kicked off the air for just playing his comments. Because obviously that was white racist racism. And look, it tells you how sad our society's gotten, because this stuff is just what people do to get attention. You're Lady Gaga, you wear a meat suit. You're Don Lemon, or even the president. How sad is it that we have the president of the United States going off and spouting the N-word like some punk in a radio interview? I mean, excuse me, a TV interview. I mean, this just tells you what a small, petty man he is and what a big job. It just shows you what a terrible example he is. And this guy, he's going out, he's trying to get some ratings. He's trying to get some attention. Probably won't work, but good try, Don. Good try.
A lot of offshoot stories happening around this story, this being one of them, of course, the Confederate flag, the president's comments being one of them. How much it's been politicized is another story. But the part that I can't help but notice, John, is that the victims in this and their families and the survivors have asked for nothing but to not be politicized, for peace. And it almost seems like the fact that this is not causing race riots is driving some people crazy. John, are you of the mindset that there are people so greedy for votes and money that they make from starting race riots, for example, that's really their first priority and that they don't want peace at all? Or do you think this is just a happenstance that this has been so highly politicized by so many, including, by the way, if you put it in that file, you know, the governor, of course, of South Carolina and her move regarding the Confederate flag. What do you think about the politics of this, John?
I think that getting people to hate each other based on their race is sadly now a political strategy. It's something the Democratic Party, including the President of the United States, has embraced. And the sad thing is, I actually read this loon's manifesto, and I have to tell you, my impression of it is this guy, the shooter, is the same as these Black Lives Matters protesters. He's the same as Al Sharpton. He's the same as David Duke. Is the same. All these guys have the same mentality. We hate you because of your race. Now, some of them are on TV on MSNBC getting paid to say this stuff, and this nut went out and shot some people. I don't even want to call him a nut, really. That's too kind, because he's a hateful, awful person. But there are these people who were Michael Eric Dyson, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, they're just as hateful. They haven't shot anybody, but they promote the same sort of ideology that we should hate each other because of our race. And they think it's going to help them get people to turn out to vote. They think it's going to make them a little bit of money, and they're right. But I tell you, it's sad. And they promote a lot of division. They promote a lot of hatred. And it's just terrible to see that there are so many people who are pushing that full time now, all the time. And it was nice to see some of the people in Charleston who had a different attitude about it. Hey, this is a terrible thing. We don't hate each other. This is one person. This is not everybody who went out and did this.
Exactly. All right, another thing trending I want to get to quickly, John, before our segment is over. We don't have much time left, but the TPA bill is trending. What do you think that's all about, John, and what do you think is going to happen?
I hate to say this, but it's about the Republican Party is starting to live up to the parody version that the Democrats have of it. They say the Republican Party is run by rich people for rich people. Well, this is who wants this bill. There's a lot of rich people who think they'll benefit. They can take some jobs out of the United States with it, that kind of thing. And they don't even, and it's so sad. Remember when Pelosi came out and said, well, we'll need to pass the bill to see what's in it? Well, yeah. You know what? We're getting the same thing from Republicans now. Paul Ryan is saying the same kind of thing. Boehner, McConnell, they're pushing this. It's horrible. Terrible bill.
All right, John, tell us how you really feel. You can find him at rightwingnews.com.